Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the licensing panel hearing, which is a virtual hearing this afternoon. We'll start with a round of introductions. My name's Councillor Amanda Pinnock. I'm the chair of the panel. Councillor Sokal?
Yeah, I'm Councillor Mohan Sokal. I'm a panel member.
Councillor Lyons?
Yes, Councillor Lyons. I'm a councillor for Home Valley North.
The council's legal representative?
Good afternoon. My name's David Stickley. I'm a solicitor. I work for the council. I'm here to provide any legal evidence that the panel may require.
Licensing officer?
Good afternoon. I'm Phil Asquith. I'm the licensing officer for Kirklees Council.
And the applicant, Ms Byram?
Yeah, I'm Amy Byram. I'm the applicant and I'm the managing director of Empire House.
Lovely. And we've got one objector, Mr Barker?
Yeah, Craig Barker. I live next door to Empire House.
Wonderful. So just to remind everyone that this meeting's been webcast and it's been recorded. I'm quickly going to whip through the minutes of the meeting. So beginning with, the agenda. So firstly, the minutes of the previous meeting that was held on the 18th of May, 2021. I think I was the only one here on the panel, so I can approve those minutes. Any interest to declare, Councillor Sokal?
None, Chair.
Councillor Lyons?
None, Chair.
Okay. Admissions of the public. This has been webcast. Any deputations and petitions?
None received, Chair.
Lovely. So we'll go straight into the reason why we're here, and it's in respect of an application for the grant of a premises licence for Empire House Group Limited, situated on Lewisham Road, Slathwaite, Huddersfield. So if I can begin by asking the licensing officer to outline the application, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just before we start, if I could just mention something. On the 25th of May, Bill Mercer, who is the agent of the applicant, emailed licensing asking if there was anything outstanding that would prevent the licence from being granted. Unfortunately, there was a combination of system error and human error, and Mr Mercer was informed that the licence had been granted and would be sent. The licence had not been granted. I'd just like to apologise for any inconvenience and confusion caused by this error. An investigation into this matter is currently underway. I just wanted to mention it to everybody before we got started. Okay, the outline of the application. On the 28th of April 2021, the licensing department received an application for the grant of a premises licence for Empire House Group Limited, Empire House, Lewisham Road, Slathwaite, Huddersfield, HD75AL. The application was made on behalf of the company by Bill Mercer, who is an agent at Live and Let Learn UK Limited, for A Swinburne Place, Wootton Bassett, SN48LE. A copy of this application may be seen at Appendix A. The licensable activities applied for by the applicant are as follows: the supply of alcohol for consumption, both on and off the premises, 7 days a week, from 0700 hours to 2300 hours. In total, one representation has been received relating to this application from a member of the public. The representation was received on the 25th of May 2021. The representation considers that the following licensing objectives would not be met should this licence be granted, and that is public nuisance. A copy of this representation may be seen at Appendix B. And that's the outline of the application.
Lovely. So we'll move to questions then. So I have a few questions, obviously in light of the full extent of the application that the panel have considered. Are you aware of any previous complaints made about this establishment? Because it is something that the objector has alluded to.
Okay, I don't know of any other complaints made, no.
And have you received any information from environmental health about any issues or any objections?
No.
Okay. Anything from the police or any other responsible authority?
No.
No, okay. So there's an email from the objector in the papers where it indicates it was copied into one of the ward councillors. Have we received anything from that ward council raising any issues, any objections?
No, we haven't, Chair, no.
I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
No.
I'll turn to my colleagues then. Councillor Sokal, any questions?
I just want to ask, Chair, are there any residential property just close to these premises? Because on the report it doesn't say anything. Or objector is left there very close to this property.
I think Councillor Sokal, it's a bit of a mixture. There's some residential premises there, but there's also some commercial as well.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Lyons, any questions?
Just could ask, what is its current use?
The current use of the premises, it's an office block, Councillor Lyons. It's just used as an office block at the moment.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So we'll now move to the applicant. So Miss Byram, can you outline your application, please?
Okay, thank you. I do have quite a lot to say, to be honest. And when I spoke to Phil, he didn't say that there was a time deadline. So I'll try to be as quick as I can. But I want to kind of paint a picture of exactly what we're doing here. So first of all, I want to introduce myself. I'm Amy Byram. I'm the MD and I'm the co-founder of Empire House, along with my dad, Stephen Byram. So my dad has had a company in the Colne Valley for 30 years building houses. And we've got quite a strong reputation locally for building good quality houses and providing nice accommodation for elderly as well as people who want to move into the area. We also live locally and really care about the community. So my dad is 55 and he's always lived in Marsden. I'm 28 and I've always lived in the area. So it's clearly within our interest to keep that reputation that we've built over 30 years. Alongside Empire House, which we founded last year, I've also got my own business. So I'm a PR consultant and I'm really well connected within the community, as well as not just people who live locally, but the business community, not just in Huddersfield, and that's wider Yorkshire. So when the building came up for sale in October 2019, it was an office building. And I instantly saw an opportunity with the building because my job as a PR consultant is to help other businesses to thrive. So I saw this as kind of a really nice tie-in with what I do already, as well as a tie-in to what SB Homes, the house builder, does. And also I felt like it was at a time where obviously, well, we bought it in 2019, so it was before COVID hit. But still, there was a need for local support for businesses. And we've also had other businesses within the local area. So Peel One, for example, was a bar and restaurant in Marsden, which was run by my sister, and she had an alcohol license and there were never any problems there. So when the property came up for sale in October 2019, myself and my dad basically came to have a look at the building, and we realised that it was firstly a really nice building because it's an old town hall. And it's in a perfect location because it's in Flathwaite, which is a really thriving village. It's a really good location. There's lots going on here. SB Homes is already built locally within the village. So we already know people who live here, and we knew that there was a need for this kind of thing. So Flathwaite has recently been named in the Times as one of the UK's top villages to live in. It's got a really nice community spirit. It's got really good train links, so it's an ideal place for people who work in Leeds or Manchester. So as an old town hall, it's a 130-year-old building. It's got a lot of history and it's always been a commercial building. So it started out as a town hall. It's even got its own air raid shelter. And then over the years, it's had many different uses, but one of them was a restaurant and they had an alcohol license. So people who come to look around remember it being a restaurant, and they can remember that the original flooring that we've restored and things like that. So it's quite nice. But most recently, it was, before we took it over, it was an office building. It was for a really thriving company that was a fashion exhibition company. So there were lots of people who worked here already. So when we took the building on, we felt like it was within the public interest to bring it back into a building that people could come and look around in, because it is such a nice building, rather than turning it into a closed office space or into houses. And it's just 2 minutes away from the train station, and just, like I'd say, probably about a 1 minute walk into the village centre. So it's a really good place for businesses to meet. On the street itself, there's lots of other businesses, including the post office, Ramsden solicitors. There's a co-op at the end of the road, there's a physio, and then as well as those businesses, there are also businesses that are based on the main street of Slathwaite, which back onto Lewisham Road, which is the road that we're on. So there's lots of deliveries all the time. There's people coming in and out of the back doors to get into their own business premises. So I want to explain a little bit more about Empire House and exactly what it is, so that you can understand what we're trying to achieve. So when we first took the building on, it was already, like I said, it was already an office building. So at first, the idea was that it was just going to be, we were going to rent out the units as standalone units to local businesses, so that they can take that unit on and not have to have their own premises, and we would do it as a serviced office space. But after a while, and obviously COVID hit, we realised that not everybody actually needs an office, and not everybody wants to fork out X amount a month for their own office space. So we do have offices, we've got 8 in total, and they're all taken now for people who do need a permanent base. But we also decided to go down the route of a new concept, which is where people can basically sign up to a membership for a smaller amount a month. They can come and use our facilities. So this is kind of where the crux of the bar comes in. So we've got a bar area, basically. It's been designed really nice. We've had an interior designer design it, and everybody who comes in says how beautiful it is, and the shocked that this is in Slathwaite. So basically, people could come use the facilities. They can use our meeting rooms. They can bring the clients here rather than either taking the clients to the home, which isn't ideal for a lot of people, or taking them to a cafe in the village where isn't again always that appropriate, because obviously it's not particularly a private setting, and also there can be kids running around, and it just doesn't give off that formal and professional vibe that they're wanting to give off to the clients. As well as that, it's all for us, it's all about the personal touch. So when people come on as a member or a tenant, we'll sit down with them and talk to them about the business goals. So as my background in PR, I've got, like I said, a lot of connections. So my role is to act as like a connector of these businesses, to put them in touch with key people who can help them achieve their goals, and we'll figure out exactly what they want to do over the next year, 2 years, 5 years, and we'll help them to achieve those goals, basically. And as another benefit, those members can use our address as their mailing address, so it keeps their address private, rather than having to put their address, their home address, down as the registered address on, like, Company's House, for example. And so far, we've had, like I said, we've had lots of different feedback, and it's all been very good. The model appeals to quite a lot of different people in different situations. So, for example, one of those, and the main one of those, is business owners. So people who work from home already, and they've been working from home for the last 15 months, but they're feeling really demotivated from working from home, and they're feeling a little bit burnt out, and they need somewhere else to work from. Another kind of target market is business owners who recently moved into the village due to the pandemic. They've moved out of London, for example, and they don't know anybody locally, and they want to make themselves some business connections. Another one is people who already have an office, or they have like a major factory or something like that, and they're a CEO or an MD, and they don't want to sit in the office every day because they get distracted by people in the office, so they want somewhere that they can focus. And then another major one is people who work for companies, for example, in Leeds or Manchester, and they decided due to the pandemic, they no longer want to travel an hour and a half to work every day. So for people like that, for example, the company has offered to pay for their membership on their behalf, so that they no longer have to travel, they don't have to get the train, and obviously that has its own environmental benefits. So now I just want to read you some testimonials from people who visited us recently. So a local business owner who came last week, she said, "The place is a credit to you. I loved working from there, and I got so much done. I felt motivated, and I love the idea of working from there on my own to plan and focus." Yesterday, a London-based business owner who's got 6 businesses says, "I have 6 businesses in the UK. Slathwaite is an ideal central location for my employees and clients to meet. I want to buy 6 memberships and bring my clients here. one of my clients includes that everyone. It is a truly amazing space. It's incredible, and it's in such a beautiful location. The Director of Growth and Regeneration for Kirklees has also commented on it. He said, "Your new venture is great, and it's a superb boost for Kirklees businesses at the right time." And then our local MP, Jason McCartney, came in to see us last week off his own back, and he commented what an exceptional concept this business is to boost trade in the Combe Valley. As well as these benefits, there are also a number of other benefits, not just to our members and our tenants, but to the local community as well. This is something that I really want to touch on, because in the objection, it said that there'd been no community benefit at all, which in my eyes is completely not true, because the whole ethos of our business is benefiting the community. So, for example, in the last 12 months, we've helped sustain jobs for 15 local tradespeople, which for them might have been a difficult time at the moment. We've also created 3 full-time jobs so far, and we plan within the next year to take on 3 more people. So far, we've got 8 tenants, 7 of these which were not previously based in Southwark. So it's brought the people into the local village who were previously based either from home or like in an office space that had become run down. Within time, we've currently got, we'll launch our memberships on the 1st of July, and we've currently got 10 definite memberships. But we will cap the memberships basically, because there's a limit to the space in the building. So we will have no more than 40 members, and these people will all be in on the same day, meaning that if those people choose to have a drink, it's not going to be a bustling environment. It's just a nice environment where people can sit down. But those people will again spend money in the village. So we've partnered with a local cafe to provide lunches for people. Over the course of the next year, we expect to spend £25,000 with that cafe, and they said that will provide at least 1 job for them. And that's just one example of the spending that will go on in the village. And there's also benefits in terms of the networking element of what we're doing, so that our members will and already have started networking with each other and working with each other, which again encourages the local business. In terms of the objection, I want to refer now to the licensing objectives and the objection in particular. So obviously this objection refers particularly to the public nuisance element, but in terms of the other ones, I just want to go over those briefly just so that you get a bigger picture of exactly what's going on. So for preventing crime and disorder, one of the main things that we've done there is we've invested more than £10,000 in a CCTV and access control system, so that unauthorised people can't gain access. And we have CCTV on mine and the front of house managers and an external person's phone at all times, so that there's always somebody that can monitor what's going on here. Myself and our front of house manager have both been fully first aid trained as well, so from a public safety perspective, that shouldn't be anything to worry about. And children are allowed on the premises, and obviously we will be IDing people if that somebody we feel that they need to be ID'd. But really the main sticking point for the objectives and our neighbours is the public nuisance. So I just want to spend a bit of time explaining this point. So like I said previously, End by House is aimed at business people. These are business people who are going to come here because they want to improve the business. So they're not going to want to come here and get drunk. They're not going to want to come here and make a fool of themselves. They're not going to want to do anything silly. Plus, we have our own house rules, which I can send you a copy of. And that means that when somebody signs up, they sign a piece of paper to say that they will adhere to our rules. That's just a general code of conduct. It's about being kind to each other, and it's about, obviously, not getting drunk and those kind of things. So anybody who flouts those rules will immediately have their membership withdrawn. It's just not in our interest to have anybody displaying any antisocial behaviour, because it goes against our whole business model. And if there was somebody in acting a fool of themselves, it would put other people off. So we're really strict on that. And then in terms of another point that the neighbours made was that they think that it will bring people for the sole purpose of drinking. But like film outlines, so there was a clerical error a couple of weeks ago, which we were under the impression for a period of 2 weeks that we had our alcohol licence granted. And within that 2-week period, and ever since, we've not sold one alcoholic drink, and we've had, I think, probably 20 people here each day. Not one person has actually asked for a drink. I can show you our till reports. It's just a benefit of coming here is that people can think to themselves, oh, I can take my client there, and out of choice, if we do want to have an alcoholic drink, we can. And another element is that we want to put on small business events like business launches, for example. So those are the kind of events people would expect to have an alcoholic drink. It's not that people want to get drunk here. It's just it's like having a bottle of wine in your fridge at home. Just because you've got one there, it doesn't mean that you're going to drink that bottle of wine and cause a nuisance to your neighbours. It just gives you the choice when you get home. You can have a glass of wine, and that's basically the whole kind of ethos that we're giving people. You know, if you want a drink, you can have one. But we also have a really nice coffee machine and a top brewer. It's a coffee machine tap basically, where the coffee comes out of the tap. So that's the main thing that people will be drinking. But again, it just gives people that choice. Another thing that was mentioned is that there are already drinking establishments in the village. But what I would say is that there's nowhere like Empire House where business people could go to chat to their clients in a private space. What we've got is a really dedicated professional work environment with the option of having a drink, whether that's to celebrate a business agreement or to treat a customer and that kind of thing. There's nothing that I don't think that we're doing in the village already. As business owners, we want the best for ourselves and our neighbours. We've put letters through neighbours' doors, and some of our neighbours have come round for a tour themselves, and they've said, "Oh, we'd be really interested in coming here, and I want to build a relationship with people where neighbours to get a discounted rate, for example, so that they feel like they're involved." I've been in a conversation with the neighbours, and I've always said, you know, if there's any problem, you can speak to us. It's not in our interest to have problems with people. So going forward, what I would say is that option is always on the table. We'll always be available for Celine and Craig to discuss their concerns in a really amicable and professional manner. And we'll always do our best to help any of their concerns. But I just want to say I'm really passionate about the business and all of the opportunities that I think it can bring. And honestly, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm really confident that any issues that our neighbours think could happen won't happen under my watch, because I'm really strict on that point of view. All of our staff are under the same knowledge, and I just hope that the committee, you can see for yourselves all the benefits of the business and how granted it is the alcohol licence will have benefits for the community as well.
Have you finished?
Yeah, thank you.
Finish your submissions? Thank you. Right, okay, so I have a number of questions. Yeah, so in the papers, the things that have jumped out at me have been things like, you know, the offer is going to be a business hub centre with a bar and limited catering, but for a maximum of 100 people, and that you're wanting the to go on until, well, to serve alcohol until 11 p.m.
Yeah.
But there's also information about wanting to play music. What sort of music do you sort of envisage it will be? Will it be background music? Will it be live music?
Background music. So we have speakers put up at the moment, and we just play like an Apple Music playlist, and it's just really chilled music that people enjoy when it makes them focus. A lot of people have said it's nice background music that helps them to keep motivated and stay focused.
Okay. And where you say that, you know, there'll be a maximum of 100 people, is that something that's likely to happen on a regular basis, or is it the business launches that you mentioned?
No. So we've just kind of said that because we want people to get in touch with us. So we don't want to put people off by saying there's a limit of X amount of people, because we want people to get in touch, because the space we've got is quite a flexible space. I can never envision it being 100 people. It's probably more likely to be 50 people, for example. So for our launch event that we've got, that we're hoping to have in when the restrictions lift, I've invited to that a maximum of 50 people. So that's the kind of number that we're looking at in reality. It wouldn't be 100.
Yeah. And how regular are you planning to have these business launches, or the equivalent?
Not very often. So at the moment, what we've got over the next 6 months is 4 events.
Okay.
So there's one in August, there's one in September, and then 2 in October. But the numbers for those, for example, there's one that's 20 people, there's one that's 30 people, there's one that's 50, and then I think the other one's 50 as well.
Great. So you alluded to the fact that this will be specifically for business people who, you know, will be hopefully will be conducting themselves in a business-like manner. But is it also open to the general public?
No, it's not.
So a member of the public can't have membership. It needs to be someone who runs business, who has links to businesses.
We charge £150 a month for our membership. So obviously there are a lot of benefits in terms of business connections and things like that. But a general member of the public probably wouldn't want to spend £150 on a membership. So automatically that kind of probably does rule people out. If there was somebody who was interested in membership and they wanted one, and I could see them being a nice person to have around, that's a different matter. But we're probably not going to get anybody like that.
Okay. Okay. Just bear with me a second.
Okay.
I think that's it from me for now. I'll move to my colleagues. Councillor Sokal, have you got any questions?
Chair, I just want to know the timing of opening and closing. Yeah, is this opening time 7 o'clock in the morning or it's evening?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes, please.
So our tenants who have got an office here, they can get access from 7 a.m. in the morning till 9 p.m. on an evening. But for members, it's more like 9 a.m. until around about 8 p.m. What we're saying is that the bar will close around 8 p.m. on an evening. But like Phil said, we've got somebody who applied for the application for us who does this on a regular basis, Bill. And I said to him, "Oh, shall we have the license until X time?" And he said, "No, it's really standard practice to have it until 11 p.m. He said it just covers you if there ever was the need to have an event on till that late in the evening, and it means that you wouldn't have to then reapply for the license. So it's not particularly something that we're aiming to do, and I can't imagine ever selling alcohol at 7 a.m. in the morning. But if for example there was a champagne breakfast, it just gives us that flexibility further down the line. But we don't have anything like that planned in at the moment."
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, on the back of that, can I just ask then, you know, what's your thoughts on amending your application to 8 p.m? Would that be something that you'd consider, or would you want to still go for the 11 p.m?
I would still go for 11 p.m. because I think it would restrict us if there were ever an event where we thought, oh, that like we can't do that event because somebody wants it till 11 p.m. And we might be talking a year down the line. For example, the launch party, like, you know, some people might want to stay after 8 p.m, for example. But I can't imagine it going on late. It's just that I don't want to restrict myself now. But again, like, it's just a difficult one at the moment. I wouldn't want to stay 8 p.m, but it probably will finish at 8 p.m, if that makes sense.
Okay. Councillor Lyons?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll just follow on from that one. What about having a restriction on the 11 p.m, say so many times a year? You know, then you can pick and choose. But also, I mean, I'm intrigued really, because to me it sounds like an upmarket business members club. This something that they would have in London, where they got certainly 150 quid a month anyway. But it would have been useful to have seen the code of conduct and I just wonder how you would be inviting the neighbours if you invite them in. Obviously, it would be free, would it, to them?
I mean, if a neighbour said that they want us to come, I mean, obviously, like I said, I want to have a nice relationship with our neighbours. So if somebody said, "Oh, can I come on Thursday evening for a drink with my wife," and we just want to pop in for a drink, that wouldn't be a problem to me.
Right.
But it would just be the neighbours that I know. So, like, some of them have introduced themselves to me, for example.
Yeah, because 150 quid a month would be well out of their reach. I would.
Oh, you know, absolutely not. No, like I wouldn't. If a neighbour wanted to come, they could come, and I wouldn't charge them a fee.
Right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. What I didn't ask the licensing officer if they have any questions. Mr. Asquith, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Good afternoon, Chair. No, I haven't got any questions to ask, to be honest with you, no.
Okay. Mr. Barker, have you got any questions for the applicant?
No questions.
Okay. All right, so thank you for that, Miss Byram. So we'll move on to the objector then. So we have one objector. An email was sent through to the licensing service dated the 7th of June of this year, which was a written objection that was sent through, but we also have the gentleman here with us. So Mr. Barker, can you make your submissions about your objections, please?
Yeah, of course. I'll just begin. I'll be expanding upon the points made in that original email that was by my partner Celine. She can't be here, which is why I'm here. She's currently working and not able to attend. It's quite lengthy. I'll start by just saying we did submit some evidence rather late, so it wasn't. It was denied by the applicant. It was just a series of photographs, just illustrating the proximity, really, of our property to Empire House. But as it was denied, I'll try and put it into words so that you can sort of understand, as it provides a sort of framework for our concerns. And basically, the entire external wall of our property runs the full length of the boundary to their outside space, from our front door to the rear of our kitchen. That is our external wall is the boundary to their outside seating area, where I'm assuming alcohol will be permitted to be consumed as part of this license in and out of the main building. Our bedroom window is situated above this space and opens out onto it. It's sort of a courtyard area between the two buildings. The outside area, and they've got a newly built sort of communal building, is along this border as well. And the communal room is quite close to our external wall. It's about 10 centimetre gap between that and our wall. And the outdoor seating area is situated forward of the front elevation of our house, and it's less than 1 metre away from our front door. There's also a floor level difference, with Empire House being approximately 1.5 to 2 metres above our ground floor level, which sort of means their seating area sort of looks down upon our front garden and where we walk into our home. And they're obviously that ground level is halfway up our ground floor wall. So the issue of noise, obviously any sort of small amount of noise on their floor level outside, actually, because it's joined to our external wall, it kind of reverberates through our entire home. That's sort of what the pictures would have illustrated. The boundary we share is, as I said, it's our actual house wall. It stretches the entire length from the front to the back of the home. Because of the change in the floor level, each side of our house is actually beneath their floor level, which means that even the most incidental noise, such as for example, when we were doing building work, even a spade tapped on the floor actually vibrates and it is transferred from the floor through our walls, which amplify it and it reverberates through our entire home. And as I said, our bedroom window is located above this outside space, and we can clearly hear even normal volume conversations. We can hear, obviously, this summer you have the window open, it's quite clear. The concern is that the level of noise that would be from people, especially if they're even slightly intoxicated, drinking outside in that area. Also, our current, because my partner and I are both having to work from home, our home office window opens out sort of, it's only 7 foot above their outdoor seating area as well, so it's quite close. and the door from their external communal building opens out onto the seating area, which is next to our front door. And the view from our bedroom window is obviously directly down onto that outdoor area. And due to the nature of how close and how large the walls are, any sound echoes, it's like an echo chamber between the walls into our room, and it goes over our lower boundary wall at the rear. The house is lower at the back, and it goes into our, we sort of hear it throughout our entire rear garden. And the rear exit of their main building opens out onto that courtyard as well, between us, and that's the sort of closest exit from where their sort of bar restaurant area would be, and that's about it for trying to illustrate this physical situated how the two properties are and the areas that would be used. And my objections are based on several points I made in the representation and listed below. And the new license will increase the public nuisance for many dwellings nearby, including my own, which is directly next door. And we have, it physically touches one of the office spaces, our walls, so it's very close. There's no sort of buffer zone. And if the license is granted as it stands now, there's nothing to stop them holding events where alcohol could be served sort of whenever they want, and subsequently creating issues for local residents on a regular basis. Parking and noise being an issue. We don't want the license to not be granted. We would prefer it to just have restrictions on it, sort of like as what was just mentioned, the serving of alcohol, in certain times, and specifically during the normal working week, to try and avoid any sort of impacts on residents, and in particular ourselves. I'm not sure if Phil was not aware, but there have been complaints submitted to the environmental. I'll just get the contact. It was Laura Donovan who would have been the contact for those complaints. I'm not sure why they haven't come through to you, or you're made aware of them. These complaints were to the council enforcement team due to construction work being carried out over weekends and bank holidays, and starting before 7 a.m. in the morning. And obviously, I'd say with close proximity, it's been quite a disturbance to our life. Even on some occasions, we've actually witnessed their employees urinating in that area between our two properties, and smoking in the seating area that is next to our front door. To be fair, I did bring this. We have brought this to the attention of Amy, and in an email contact for her to deal with. And we were just concerned, things, we're all aware of the effects the intake of alcohol has on a person, and become less in control of their facilities and the volume of their voice, their language, and fear for instances of antisocial noise behaviour will increase.
Yeah, Amy, can we let him finish his submissions? You can you can respond to it afterwards.
Can hear me, but it's really breaking up. I don't know if it's a problem with anybody else or not. It's just mine.
I can hear. Can't you hear? You struggling?
No. Yeah, I'm sure. It's really breaking up. Sorry, okay. I just missed a large chunk of what was just said.
Okay, are you able to repeat that again, Mr. Barker? Just a little bit there about maybe the complaints that you made.
Could somebody dial me back in, because I can't. It's really difficult to hear.
I'm struggling to hear people as well, actually.
Are you, Jenny? Any suggestions?
Is IT on the call? Is IT still in the meeting?
Yeah, it's Nicola. Well, we've got another number. We're probably needing additional numbers. We have got one number for Amy. I don't want Craig to give me the number. We can adjourn to get the numbers. Chair.
Thank you. So there's been a few IT issues, but we think that's been resolved now. Mr. Barker was talking about just before the interference came in about the noise nuisance and complaints that he'd raised with the council's environmental health. So if you can start from there, Mr. Barker, just to explain what the complaints were about. And I think you also said that you reported it to Amy.
Yeah.
Do you want to go from there?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find where I was up to.
So you said that you complained about construction work being extremely loud, smoking and staff smoking and urinating outside.
Yeah, that was it. just things that we've witnessed since we've been here and the construction have been underway. Like I say, we did report this to Amy, who has dealt with it on her side, just trying to illustrate the things that we've witnessed. I think it's sort of done. Yeah, the environmental health contact was Laura Donovan, who was dealing with those complaints. Just bear with me 1 second, sorry. Yeah, as I was saying, so we're all aware of the effects of the alcohol and less control of their faculties, and the volume of people's voices with their language. We fear that just for instances of antisocial noise. I know Amy's saying that she would be policing it, but I understand it's difficult to police it all the time. And with this license being from the ability to serve alcohol from 7 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night every single day of the week, weekdays, weekends, bank holidays, 365 days a year, and to 2 a.m. on New Year's Eve, there would be possibility of no respite for us as the closest residents. We don't want it to end up to being an issue of us, leading to a lot of complaints in the future from issues we may have. Rather, it was sort of there were things in place now that could prevent that from happening, and it is different. Obviously, as a business premises, they have the ability to lead any issues at the premises, and people can go away, get away from any problems and stresses and noises and parties, etc. But we don't have this ability because this is our home, and this license sort of grants the potential to bombard us from the moment we wake up until we go to sleep every day of the year for the rest of our lives with no escape. And like I said, because of the physical layout of the buildings and the boundaries between us, even simple, normal conversational noises echo between the walls, and we hear it wherever we are in the house, and we can hear it in the garden, and there's literally no escape. In particular, the outdoor seating area, situated where it is, if the alcohol can be consumed outside, it's going to be on our doorstep. Just to reiterate, there are some direct quotes from their own website, which sort of alarmed us. And it's a private drinking establishment. We sort of mentioned that it wouldn't be any value to neighbours and local residents in terms of, because it is a private entity and a members club, and people can't afford to actually utilise that space. So it's a limited sort of social and community value. It may have a negative effect on many other local businesses within a stone's throw of Empire House that already provide spaces to consume alcohol and outside in a sort of the beautiful village environment. But it's things like their intention to bring people to the premises for the purposes of after work drinks is mentioned. It's something that can be achieved elsewhere in the village in one of the many other pubs, and it's not sort of located on a residential street directly bordering a private residence. Other things on the website that sort of caused us a bit of an alarm was it's already sort of advertised as a facility to entertain friends and guests. an informal dining room to cater for informal events for up to 40 people at a time, for private dining, birthdays, anniversary and engagement parties, the ability to use the premises for private parties, business meetings and small conferences out of hours, and the champagne breakfast issue. This sort of leads me to believe that the full extent of the license can potentially be used, and after it has been granted, there's nothing that we could do about that. And, serving alcohol and hosting parties after normal business working hours have ended, at weekends, Saturdays, Sundays, public holidays. There's no sort of notification required to give to local residents, and it would sort of have quite a massive impact on our lifestyles. I'm sure everyone could imagine living next to that. We don't want to end up in a position where we have to sort of arrange our life around what's happening next door, like business event wise. So there'd be no respite, and it could be sort of just quite damaging to our home life, really. And we're obviously concerned as well about the drinking in such close proximity to the home, because we have young family members who come and stay and visit, or it did when it was permitted. 7, 10 years old. It's not really an environment I'd want them to be around or be able to hear. Or we did request the seating area that's up onto the front of our front door that sort of looks over our entrance. We did ask it to be moved, but that wasn't a possibility. Hello, can everybody still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. We didn't want the quality of our life to be affected or diminish. We have to plan our lives around the events and their opening times. We don't want to be in a situation where they're having to sort of police the behaviour of people utilising their space. And there is a concern that as members, it's as a members only space, you're sort of paying for a privilege that a normal place where it serves alcohol wouldn't, and it could be inclined to, people could be less inclined to follow the rules as stringently, especially if it's something like birthday parties or something where it's not going to be only business clientele. See, smoking outside is an issue as well, as I said, because of our windows that actually open onto that space, which sort of goes hand in hand with a lot of places that serve alcohol. Also, we've got 2 rescue dogs that are quite really nervous of loud noises, in particular people's raised voices, and we wouldn't want that to have a negative effect on them. They're very anxious and nervous, and they can bark, and obviously it's not good for them, and it would not be very good for the business members utilising Empire House either, and to have to listen to that. And we moved to Slowett and bought this house, and we sort of put everything into renovating it to make it our home, with the intention of starting a family here. And obviously, when we bought it, the old town hall was a disused office space, and we're more than happy that Amy and her dad have taken it over and have renovated it and created this, and they've done a beautiful job, and it is a wonderful space. And like I said at the beginning, we don't want to, if it's an integral part of their business model to have the alcohol license, we don't want to go against that and negatively affect their business. but on the other hand, we're concerned for our own home life, and we feel that perhaps things, limits put in place on the license would be the best way around it, such as, if it was, as was mentioned, sort of 9 a.m. to 8 o'clock when they're open, and then if they're having limited events, then that could be applied for as and when is required, rather than just a blanket sort of license, which is kind of what this application was or is. Obviously we're concerned about the ability to consume alcohol outside, with that their designated sort of outdoor seating area is bordering our property. I think that's sort of it.
Okay. Thank you. Find out if my colleagues have got any questions. Councillor Stockar? You're on mute, Councillor Stockar.
Yeah, I'm on mute. I'm not question. Actually, it's a comment to the objector. As he objected, say if it's opening hour, it start about 9 o'clock in the 9 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, then even if we put some sort of a restriction, would it be acceptable to the this objector?
Yeah, as I said, with a restriction, yeah, sort of,
yeah.
So it's a reasonable time frame. The usual business working hours, it would be fully acceptable by us.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Lyons.
Yes, a couple of points. Particularly the one about the urinating. I take it was just while the construction workers were there for that, because that's not an uncommon, shall we say, occurrence, and really it's not going to be going from the business people, because they've got the toilets inside anyway. So I think that was a bit of a red herring, actually. With the regard to what put down here now, that many things seem to be going round in circles. In fact, to restrict them to 9 o'clock, I wouldn't look favourably on that. I would say, particularly that they could have the later hours, but not every day.
Morning.
Not every day. I think we've got to give them some leverage here. But that's me. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously we can discuss that when we're deliberating.
Yes.
Outside of the public domain, but for me, it was what I was going to make more of a comment than anything else, just to kind of reiterate what the offer has been put forward by the applicant, which is that it's likely to end at 8 p.m. It's likely to be a maximum of 50 people to be held. For example, she gave the example of business events to be held a handful of times a year. It's likely it is going to be a business centre where they have business membership, not open to the general public. There'll be a code of conduct expected. There's a written code of conduct. So these are the things that, that I sort of wanted to put to you, Craig, about now that you've heard those things from, the applicant. And to be fair, obviously what they're asking for, they could go outside of what's been suggested today. But what's your thoughts on that? Those limitations that have been suggested, that it's likely to end at 8 p.m. anyway. What she's talking about, where it's 50 people, it's going to be only a handful times during the year. It's not going to be something that's every night that you've sort of said in your submissions, 365 days a year. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be that excessive.
Yeah, I understand that. The objection was based on, because of the scope of the license, is that I know it is easy to say that it is going to be that, but when you have the actual possibility of not doing that, that was my concern, which I hope you can understand, especially on the saying that it is for private business, but on their own website it does say for birthdays, anniversaries, and engagement parties as well. And I mean that's not what was just described.
Thank you. So we'll give Amy an opportunity now to respond or to ask any questions.
Thank you. Yeah, so I've just written a few points that it might be that I've written some stuff down. It might be that I end up coming back to certain points twice, but if I can just follow how I wrote it down in the order of what Craig mentioned it. So the urinating, yeah, that was something that Celine emailed about, which was at a stage where it was construction work being done, and it was a tradesman who she saw, which I myself was really disappointed about, because obviously I don't want that happening either. And I responded to someone to say, I'm really sorry that, in fact I can read it now. I said, I'm really sorry that you saw somebody urinating. I had a team meeting this morning and addressed it with all of the tradespeople. I'll find out who it is and dismiss them. It's not fair that you had to see that, and it's also unacceptable to myself. So I do take these things really seriously, and I'm sorry that you have to see that. In terms of the noise complaint, that was something that happened about a year and a half ago, and it was pretty much when we first moved in, and we were jet washing on a bank holiday Monday, and it was about midday, and Celine came round to say that she wanted us to stop, and we actually did stop. And then there was another complaint due to construction work that was being done too early in the morning, but I don't know where that came from. I think it's because the vans were parked up outside in the car park, because our tradesmen have for 30 years had the same routine that they've had for that amount of time, and what they tend to do is they tend to get here earlier in the morning and they sit inside. Well, they don't anymore because the work's finished, but they would tend to come in the morning, sit inside with a flask, have a brew, have a chat, and then start work at around 8. So environmental health did turn up, and when they came, they could see for themselves that they didn't deem it to be an issue. In terms of the proximity of the building, this is something that we've been back and forth with over email, and there's been a few things in terms of like cleaning the gutters and things like that we've been back and forth about over the past probably 18 months. What I would say to that is, obviously you bought your property during a period when, well, you bought the property next to a commercial building. So
sorry, Amy.
And it's
sorry,
always
Amy.
been a commercial building.
Sorry.
Can we let Amy finish? You've had your opportunity to respond. Let's let Amy finish.
Sorry, the phone line's gone. I can't hear what you're saying.
Has it gone again?
It's happened again, yeah. Really... It might just take a minute to come back.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe listen on the YouTube?
Have you got the link? Have you both got the link for YouTube?
I have.
Craig, have you got the link?
Yeah. If you want to continue, I can't hear what you're saying, but I can check it back on YouTube after you've finished, if that's best.
We'd like you to listen. So are you able to get YouTube up now so you can listen and follow it?
Yeah, I've got it on. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Amy, can you continue?
Yeah. So Celine and Craig bought the property next door when it already was the commercial building, and what I would say is that the people who occupied the building before, I mean, there were a lot of people who worked here, and they sat outside as well. So any problems with noise that reverberates through their property has probably always been an issue. And I'm not saying that we won't try our best to kind of diminish that problem. For example, the thing about where Craig's mentioned that about the seating area that's located near his front door. So we've been in conversation about that, for example, and we've built a trellis, and we're going to grow some plants up that. And Craig's a landscaper, so he suggested himself some plants that will grow quite quickly. So we've planted those. And then in terms of, again, like the conversations that they can hear inside or in the property or in the garden, I mean, it is a busy area. The street itself does have some commercial properties on it, and you know, it's a street that people walk up and down. So I wouldn't suggest that all the noise is coming from our property. In terms of the outdoor seating area, what I would say is that we can put a policy in place to say there's no smoking in that area, and if it would be something that Craig and Celine would be happy with, we can say that people can't drink alcohol there. You know, we're quite reasonable people. You know, we want to come to a resolution that works for them as well. So if there are things like that that would help the situation, then I'm happy to do that. In terms of birthdays and anniversaries and things like that, they are events that we can put on for members. It's like holding a business launch. You know, we're going to know the people who are coming here basically, and people have to apply to have an event here. You can't just book it. So again, we're going to know the people who are here. If there's anybody misbehaving, then it just wouldn't work with us. And then in terms of like after work drinks, like that's for people who've got a membership who might have like had a busy day meeting a client, and they want to nip down here for a drink afterwards, and they want to bring the client here to a space where they can maybe like close the deal or that kind of thing. It's, you know, it's not somewhere that they're going to come and get trolled or anything like that. It's just a nice drink that people could come and have. And like I said, there's nothing like that in the village. In terms of like the pubs that are here locally, I mean, I personally, as a business person, I wouldn't want to take a client to some of the pubs, just not because there's anything wrong with them, but because it's not a professional environment. And then when Craig mentioned that the fact that he thinks that we could do it 365 days of the year, well, to me that's just speculation, because I mean, there's no proof that we're going to do that, and my word is that we're not going to do that. So, and you know, the fact that he works from home, I mean, if him and Celine wanted a membership, I mean, that could have been something that we worked out, you know, because we want to be open with our neighbours and create a relationship that works for both of us. So, for example, another neighbour has said things where they want to come for a drink after work, and like I said, we're happy to accommodate those things. So I think a lot of the points that he's made, I see where he's coming from, but I can guarantee that from my point of view, they don't feel like an issue, because I know that I'm telling the truth, if that makes sense. So I think I've addressed all of the points that he made. I'm not sure if there's anything else that anybody wants to ask.
Okay. So I think it's time for us to make our decision. So at this stage, I would let everybody know that we are going to adjourn the meeting for a little while, so that myself and my two colleagues can deliberate over what we've heard and make a decision about the application. So thank you everyone for joining, and the decision that's reached, participants are directed to watch it on the webcast for the decision, and the written decision will also be sent out to those concerned. So good afternoon, everyone, again. So the licensing panel were asked to consider application for grant of premises license for Empire House Group Limited, situated at Lewisham Road in Slathway. We had an opportunity to hear details from all concerned. And in light of the information that we've received and that we've heard from the applicant and the objector in particular, we've taken the decision, balancing the success of the business and also in the interest of the residents in the area. We've made the following decision, that to grant the licence as followed: between 8 AM and 10 PM, the licence will be granted for indoor drinking, so on premises, and between 8 AM and 9 PM, the licence is granted for alcohol consumed off premises, so for the outdoor area. In relation to New Year's Eve, we're happy to grant the licence as the applicant has requested, and that the applicant can apply for a temporary events notice if she requires extended hours. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you to my colleagues for being involved in the process, and for everyone involved in today. Have a lovely afternoon.
What's left of it.
Yeah.
What's left of it.